Hey, what's up, guys? Rob here. What you're about to listen to is an excerpt from the weekly podcast that I'm a part of called The Juice is Loose. It's just a smaller part to a much larger conversation. So if you are interested in hearing the full episode or subscribing to the podcast or any of the guests on the podcast, you can do so by following the links in the description below. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.
And I'm glad that was a great point, because until this Zelda, they've still been doing basically the Ocarina of Time. They got it right the first time. The first 3D Zelda, and they were still basically copying that up until this one. Finally they've decided to change.
I want to make the quick point is that that doesn't mean that the game is going to be good.
No,
you could be spending 4 years experimenting and completely throw away everything you did because it didn't go anywhere. So that is a risky way to make games, and I want people to know that. People just think, oh, they just do this and it's, that's it. Of course it's going to sell. Of course it's going to be good. That doesn't always work out. That's
you got to have the
risky
talent.
Way to make games.
You got to have the right
talent for it. Right?
It's a funny coincidence you bring that up too, because we were talking about Resident Evil earlier, and that's exactly what happened with Resident Evil 4. They went through 4 different versions of that game that they built very close to completion before they had to scrap it just for that reason, because it just wasn't good. And then they had to redo it until they got it right.
Yeah, so another thing I want to throw in here, they said that they had a small team they spent 4 years on the horses, the animations, the behaviors, and the rest of the animals in the game. Like, you see the wild animals behaving more naturally. So
how long did they spend?
4 years.
Damn, they did
obviously
that
they had
a year after they finished Skyward Sword, man.
Yeah, obviously they had the time. If they had the game, if they had tried to rush it out or something, they would have had to cut that short.
Yeah.
But that's a good point too, that it didn't guarantee it was going to be good making it that way. And that's why they said they came back and they had the entire team at that point, this huge team, and made everyone play through and give everyone's feedback was taken into consideration before they moved forward after they took a break. So
did you bring this up, T, how the Switch version they started, I think, last year?
Oh yeah, I forgot to bring that up.
That messed me up too, the fact that when they decided to make the Switch version, they have gotten it to this place within a year. That really says how easy it is to get things up and running on the Switch. So that's another testament to Nintendo and how they do things.
Right before the announcement is when they decided that it was going to come to the Switch. So it'd have been curious if it could have made 2016 if it was Wii U only. We'll never know. So Robert, what's your take? Hearing some insight like that into this development, let me ask you this: does it help you, feel better about how long it's taken for this game to come out now?
Oh well, for me, it's like waiting so long. It's like, damn, it needed to be so close. But just to hear like these details, it's so cool. And I wish, even though I know we're not ever gonna get that, they should have like behind the scenes videos and see how it looked at step 1 and how it looked on step 2 and how it looked at step 133. You know what I mean? Like, that would be super.
That would be cool.
Yeah, you ain't gonna never see that.
Yeah, you'll never. Yeah, they never
gonna
show
give you that.
But that'd be so cool to see. I would love to see that, because like they even I think it was Miyamoto that was saying that the staff kept going up and up and up and up. So it's like they kept getting these more people on board to just make this one game, and how long it took, and it just super cool development kind of things that we never see, but I want to see. Like, I want to see what it is, but you can't.
Yeah, how many studios would have been like, no, you're adding too much to the budget, blah blah blah, give up on this, or just cut it off there, and it would have been
like I was saying, just talking about budget, it still only needs to sell 2 million copies to be profitable.
Right. Even after all that 4 years of development, and it just needs to sell 2 million copies.
And it's going to destroy that number, by the way.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, everyone that's picking up a Switch is going to pick up Breath of the Wild.
And there are still a lot of people that'll be like, oh, since I'm waiting on my Switch, or I can't get a Switch because they're reserved out, I'm buying it on Wii U.
I'll get
A
the
lot
Wii
of people
version,
say that too.
And I can't sit here. I'm not going to sit here and criticize somebody that has a Wii U and says, like Doc Trey's trying to be like, oh, why wait for a Switch? Well, if you have a Wii U and Zelda's your big game, really, I can't say someone's wrong for buying the Wii U version and waiting to get the Switch because a lot of the
not at all.
games,
No, they've been waiting on that game for 4 years.
Yeah, totally. I don't think that's weird at all. That makes
basically up until ARMS, which we don't have a release date. I say May. You really don't have a true exclusive other than like maybe snipper clips. So
Which
I mean,
technically comes out on. I think apparently it might come out on launch, which is
What?
strange.
I hope so.
Snipper
Or maybe
clip.
by the
That's
end
in
of
March.
It says
by the
March.
end.
It says March.
And
but-
so is Bomberman is day one. That's exclusive. Fast RMX is exclusive. But I mean, yeah, Zelda's the game. Zelda's the game.
Yeah, I was up until Aonuma announced that there was going to be any gamepad stuff, which they did work on, by the way. They were
Mhm.
working on that. And they
That was another
scrapped it,
thing.
which
Yeah.
is sad. But until they did that, I was going to get the Wii U version regardless. So
And Leveled, I know when I did your podcast last, I was hoping K-Bomb and D2K would be on because they're not, Zelda guys. I was going to ask them a question. And, for anyone that
K-Bomb actually is really interested in this
I know.
this new Zelda.
that was kind of the point I was going to try to get to, was to the people that for years, I'm just not into Zelda. I just, never been a big Zelda fan. From what I've seen, I don't know how anyone could still say that because I'm looking for maybe a little more. There should be a little bit more Zelda. I'm not seeing a whole lot of actual Zelda in Breath of the Wild. You know what I mean? Like
You mean
what
like
I know to
typical
be Zelda.
gameplay Zelda? Is that
Yeah,
what you mean?
you got the
Yeah.
characters
Well,
in the world.
it's
but-
I don't think we've seen enough. Like, I think Nintendo has been very smart with how you would think by all the stuff they allowed us to see with the Great Plateau, and it really hasn't exposed us to much of anything. Like, and for this much to be already out there, we can watch it as much as we want to watch it, and we still know little to nothing. Because, like you said, Terminator Juice, it doesn't resemble what we are typically used to with Zelda. It's amazing to me, man. I'm really like kind of scared, like it's just gonna be too daunting for me. Like it's gonna be too much. You know what I'm saying? And one thing I will say, man, if there was a critique, and I think this is only for preference, is I believe that gamepad was very much in mind when they were first making this game, and
But
I'm
they
kind
confirmed
of
that it was.
yeah, they did in that article, and I wish that was still available, but outside of that, it looks like it's gonna be a great game, man. And I don't think anybody with any gamer sense could write off Breath of the Wild. I think that's why so many people are upset, is the fact that it is such a great game and they weren't expecting it to be that great. So I think a lot of the hate is coming from there.
With all we've seen, we've probably seen like 10% of this game, man.
Right.
less than that probably.
Probably.
Probably, yeah.
I'm trying to do a higher number out. I wanted to say 5.
We haven't seen a dungeon. We haven't seen
Right.
any other land outside of, well, we've seen bits and pieces, but we don't know what's actually in there to explore. There's a lot about this game we really just don't know about. And I don't know if y'all picked it up when they was showing the fact, you can save your horses and I guess a born
Like
or
at the
whatnot.
stable and stuff.
Stable.
Did you read the text that it was saying talking about this royal horse that you might need to find? Did y'all catch that?
I didn't, but I know exactly who that horse
I know
referred to.
Yeah, and it was I know who it was. I'm like, everybody's like, "Is no Eponia?" And then I was like, "Dude, did y'all not read the text right there?"
Because I
Like,
was
the
really
Nintendo stopped showing us too much.
that's one of the Zelda things I was really sad about. I was like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
you can ride any horse? I want a pony.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
well,
that's
it's like,
don't know yet.
yeah, well,
That's so
it kind of revealed that I think
Pretty
that's what
much.
they was alluding
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
So let's go to the least Zelda fan here, Terrell. I know I've asked this before. Let's get your take on how they developed the game, and then also again, I'm sure I asked this already as someone who's never been huge into Zelda.
You ask me every time we have a Zelda conversation. So I'm used to
But
it.
just for the new people listening and stuff. But first, what did you think of all that stuff about the development? Obviously it's Nintendo. As a Nintendo fan, you're probably not surprised, but what's your take on it?
Well, no, it's just a nerd thing for me. It's interesting to look inside game design and see how they develop their games. It's kind of like when I went and looked at there was a few videos about how Super Mario 3D World was made and how it's like a 4-step process for each level where you introduce a concept and then you do like a small spin on it, and then you do a more exaggerated spin, and then you do like this final climax at the end of it. It's like I like learning those kind of things because it's an interesting look in how you're developing levels. And because I mean, people think that the hardest games to make are like the gritty action games, but the hardest games to make are games that appeal to every type of player. Where like certain games can only work with certain like skill levels, but to make a game that works with all skill levels is completely different. So just learning the cool ins and outs of them dealing with like major physics engines and very smart AI, that kind of stuff, just on a technical level, is just cool to me. And then you add in the Nintendo factor, and it's like, wow, that's interesting. So yeah, I thought all that was cool.
And I forgot to mention the Nintendo Minute a few weeks ago did the like 5 favorite things about Zelda with Miyamoto and Aonuma, and that was really interesting.
I'm willing to bet that their number one answer was all the money they get to make when that game's out.
I think it was God, I forget what the first one was. Just maybe the world itself. I don't know if that was number one to them. But just hearing them, they were involved in this game, and you could just tell the true excitement that they have playing the game and the pride, obviously, that they made the game. But I thought that was a pretty cool thing. Of course, they added a 6th one, and Anuma's like, Zelda's pretty cute too.
Really?
We've all been thinking that since Skyward Sword, man.
So who hasn't given their opinion on this?
I think just me, actually.
All right, so you got, I mean, if you want to add anything.
I mean, it's really just like agreeing, like everyone talked about, like the Nintendo difference, and like T and Leveled, you guys brought that stuff up, which is so obviously true. And it's just nice to hear, like, from the inside, behind the scenes at Nintendo, like kind of how they've made their biggest game. And I think T, you also brought up the idea of like the way they described it, just creating this big field and then putting stuff in it and then figuring it out, almost like the game makes itself. I like that because it shows the organicness of like the game almost telling the game makers how the game needs to be made.
Sure.
And Nintendo are the kind of folks that'll like listen to that. It's kind of like a hippie sort of like Zen-like sort of approach to thinking about it, but it makes sense and it feels like it falls in line with how we know Nintendo probably makes their games. And like Juice, when you talk about, Aonuma and Miyamoto being so excited when they talk about it, that's something that like, when I hear that or when I see that in an interview, it's like, those are the guys I want making video games. Like people who have that kind of passion and feeling and fun. And if they'll just smile talking about video games, like watch any E3 or PAX or anyone's interviews at Gamescom and all these developers and like great people who are really talented that make games I love. But there's something different when you see those guys like straight-faced and serious about their games. But then the Nintendo guys come on and they're having a good time and they're smiling because they get to make these great games.
Yeah.
It's like those are the people I want behind game development. So it's just awesome to hear, man.
Like the God of War head producer guy who's like, he's like mad at a question that someone asked him about the game.
Yeah, it's like, or calm your ass down because you're making God of War and people love you. So be happy.
There's something I've noticed about it, and I'd like to get y'all opinion. When Nintendo put their mind to something, they really shock folks. Like that trailer for January 12th, that last trailer for Breath of the Wild. Mm-hmm. I think it's the best trailer we've seen for a game ever. I don't think no other game has been presented that well in the trailer, like capturing the mood. Like it really took Zelda into a whole, Zelda and Link and all of it into a whole nother dynamic. Mm-hmm. And to me, it was done better than those who been doing it for a while now. I haven't seen a trailer capture me like that, like to the point that the music, the way that they captured each scene, the way that Zelda and Link interacted, the storytelling, everything was like, dude, we really don't know what's about to go down, man. This thing is about to be real.
That's a great point because
go ahead.
I was just gonna say a lot of these, Sony's got a movie studio and they have movie trailers and all this and that, and Nintendo comes out of nowhere and just makes the best video game trailer and one of the best trailers of all time, in my opinion. And it's like, who did they hire somebody, or is this the new Nintendo? Like, is this what they're capable of, or did they hire somebody?
That's what I was gonna say. Building off of even what like you were saying, Levels and Juice. Like, not only is it like I think the best trailer ever made for a video game, it's so uncharacteristic of Nintendo. Like, it felt so different from them in a great way, in a very great way. Like,
put that in front of a movie like Logan or something, like a big movie coming out around that time.
Yeah, they should. They so should.
The build up alone, like how they started off, you standing there looking over the scenery, man, and it swoops around, and then all of a sudden, it's like Nintendo's like, no, let's not just throw them right into it. Let's build up, and then let's hit them. All of a sudden, they start showing the gameplay, and he got the magnet, and he turning the magnet around, and he jumping on the ice, but I'm getting chills talking about this crap.
It's incredible. Dude, I
gotta say, it was retarded, man.
After the last podcast, like, I hadn't watched the trailer since Robert, I was at your house like 2 weeks ago, and you showed me the English version. And the last podcast, Juice, you talked about how, they should put this in like movie theaters before movies, like it's that kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, that's a really good idea. And as soon as the podcast was done, I was like, I need to watch the trailer again. It's been like a week and a half. And I put it on my big TV with my sound system up so much. Like, it almost brought me to tears. I was like, I can't. Juice was so right. This thing should be like, the White House should be playing this thing. Like, it's so freaking incredible. I thought it was great.
Well, that's the thing is that.
Terrell's been trying to say something for a while.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, sorry, man.
I feel like it's a culmination of everything we've seen within like the last 2 years of Zelda. Because I mean, think about it. When this game was properly shown off, and we got that full blowout at E3, it was like, man, are they showing too much? There's a lot of this game all over the internet. And then as the time goes on, even when we hit like the Game Awards and we're getting sequences, we're like, well, that looks completely different. Then you start hearing the stuff about the AI for the horses and shit. And then it all culminates to, you think you know what you're about to get into. And then at the very end of the 12th Direct, it dropped the trailer, and it's like, don't ever question what we're about to do here. And I feel like that needs to be the final. Like, I don't want to see no more trailers.
Exactly.
And that's kind of how Anuma is. That's kind of how Anuma's demeanor, body language, like the facial expressions, like we are totally confident when it comes to this one. I showed it to my brother, who was kind of like, he a Nintendo person, but the Wii U put a bad taste in his mouth. The games like these just to him didn't come, and he bought it on my word. And like, man, he even told me today, man, you really on the Switch now, huh? I was like, yeah, man, I'm on the Switch. But he saw the Zelda trailer. I put it up on my Facebook, and I was like, man, any gamer would understand how I feel right now. He was the first one jumped on there. Was like, dude, I'm going crazy over this trailer, man.
I'm curious about non-gamers, like movie fans, if they saw like some of the big movie review YouTube channels, like if they saw this trailer and judged it as a trailer, not for a video game, but just as the way it was shot and edited, and like it gets tense, and then Link's standing up, and then it cuts to the logo. It was just like perfect. Like,
no, well, that's the thing is, remember I was saying that my grandparents said, don't play games, watch this, and we're like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like, and they were like, wow, it's like, when can I watch it? I'm like, no, it's a game. And then they're like,
you can watch it on March 3rd and watch me play it in my room.
It's
for 200 hours.
It's great.
And guess what? It's only 32 days away.
Like, let me just say that it really is one of those. It's one of those trailers that, to me, for sure, honestly, probably is the best trailer I've ever seen ever. It's so incredible, and it's the only one that literally did. I did cry, man. There was one part where
I teared up.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
like
it's impossible not to.
It's crazy because like there's when I blast with the sound system and stuff, and just like with my god, it's just so incredible. And like it gets to you, and like you said, the shots, when they let go of their hands, and then you just see like him, like the camera zooming away from him. It's like, oh my god, what's going on? Like, what is happening? It's so incredible, and I absolutely love that trailer.
It builds up so perfectly.
Like you said, everything about this game is pretty much very un-Nintendo like what you're used to getting from them. And like I think I read that Koji Kondo isn't making music for this one.
Oh really?
Yeah,
he hasn't made any music for this one. which is bananas. Like he's
No,
made
you know,
music
I
for-
think the Animal Crossing guy's making the music
Yeah.
for this one.
it's crazy.
know.
Like he's made music for Zelda games from the beginning. Like he's made some of the best, the best music in video games to me.
Well,
And
I mean,
to hear that he hasn't made any music for this game, or he at least is not the lead composer, is crazy.
it doesn't hurt to. I mean, doesn't always help though, but to give it some fresh set of ears, and because like
Yeah,
that
but you
score.
can tell the music is already amazing. Like
Oh,
this
yeah.
is a
Yeah.
great score, and that's what's like for again. It's courageous. That is them taking a chance because they could have easily just said, Kondo, make the music again. This is them kind of stepping out of their box, which is pretty cool, man.
I mean, they've definitely elevated themselves with this game. That trailer, if that's any indication as to the cutscenes we're in for, like
Oh man,
it's not what I was expecting for sure. When
I mean, it has to be, and like so much about this game from what we saw gameplay wise and what the trailer showed us and all this stuff, it feels like it's taken the blueprint from Skyward Sword, right, in a lot of ways, and taken that into this like monumentally huge, bigger achievement. And like that game was so cinematic, people forget, and I feel like it doesn't even get enough credit for that. Like that's actually a criminally underrated game. And like one of the best things about it was how they incorporated really good like cutscenes with like pretty strong emotion.
Mhm.
And I feel like they're taking that to like the 1 millionth level. Like what they started with Skyward Sword, that game specifically, and they're taking that to the next level with this game. And that, as a huge fan of Skyward Sword, that makes me really, really happy. Like I'm expecting like a movie cutscene for like 20 minutes. And I can just put my controller down and be like, oh yeah, I gotta make a sandwich. I can't wait to see what happens to Link. I'm like so ready for that.
I do hope that some of the flashback stuff, like 100 years ago, like I hope you get to play some of that.
Is
And
that
it's not
even
just
is that
cutscenes?
confirmed to be flashback though? I know people have theorized. Did we